Welcome back to Emerald and Lilywhite, the official YouTube channel of Seattle Spurs. We're coming off a win today, so the crew is hyped. It's been a while.
Two wins on the bounce, baby.
Yeah, two on the bounce, right? Even though one wasn't pretty, and we've talked about that, but two wins on the bounce. Our group chat, we could say, over the past couple of weeks has been a little bleak, a little shitty, right? But it feels good again. As Keagan said, a happy pod for the first time in a while. So, yeah, we're here to talk Spurs, and let's jump right into it. Got Keagan and Max with me. First, Keagan at Keagan McMurray. Keagan, what's up, man?
How's it going, guys? Good to be back after a win. I only do podcasts if we win. If we lose, I refuse. So I'm back finally. It's been, and I wouldn't do the podcast after the Coventry game because I was just too mad after that too. So
wasn't a win.
First happy pod in a while. Stoked to be back.
Yeah, one of those matches that makes you wonder if you ever want to watch Spurs again. I think if they lost, maybe we wouldn't watch Spurs ever again, right? But that didn't happen. With us, as always, as well as Max at Going Limbs. Max, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm just stoked. Like, that was an awesome performance. It might be our best performance since like November or October, was it 2023? So, I'm fired up. Yeah. I liked it more than the Everton game, even though the scoreline was different. But I thought just the quality of football we were playing was just elite.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was a fantastic performance. I still have holes to poke in it, but that's just because I'm been a miserable sod lately. We'll get into those holes I want to poke here in a little bit, right? But I agree. I mean, 3-1 win, big W when Spurs needed it badly. Let's start with the lineup. Keagan, anything surprise you when that was posted this morning?
Not particularly. I was again excited to see Solanke up front. It was good to see Mikey Moore on the bench. He was on the bench, correct?
Yeah.
And then got some minutes there at the end, which was well deserved. But yeah, nothing in particular that was surprising. Looking back at it, seemed like, and just kind of cementing that as our best 11. And I'm happy that he's seeing that having Kulu and Madison in the middle is not too attacking in it. I think that Kulu can really play that 8 role actually very well, and he's not at all a defensive liability. And I think Madison, the same can be said for him. He's such a quality presser, and I think he gets back really well as well. But yeah, nothing really surprising. I think that's, at least at the moment, our best 11.
Yeah, I agree. Unchanged from Arsenal, obviously, and a much better performance and result than what we saw in the North London Derby. But I agree that seems to be the preferred 11. Max, let's double click on Kulusevski. Keagan brought him up. Another fantastic performance, in my opinion. But fair to say he's shaping to be one of the most important players and one of the first names on the team sheet week in, week out at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great yesterday. I'd say maybe somehow was the weakest of the midfield trio in terms of performance, but not a knock on him, just speaking to the other two and how good those guys were yesterday. But it's pretty clear that he's cemented himself into the starting 11, like you guys said, into the best 11. And we were like, coming into this year, where is he going to play? Is he going to play? Is he going to be here? Not only is he here, but he's earned his spot. And I think if we have any big games coming up, I want that Matters Kulusevski, I guess, attacking double pivot, if you will, in the team for sure. And he really made a difference during the week. And then to come in and put in a great performance at the weekend too. Can't ask for much more from him. I'm really happy with how he started the season, especially off what I would say was a bad year for him last year.
Yeah. And I think I don't think it's that different to what Pep's doing at City right now. He has Gundogan and Bernardo Silva starting both at their 8s, and they're kind of just like dual 8s rather than like a 10 and 8. And they both can attack, and they're both really creative. And they're both not super physical, but the same way that Madison and Kulusevski are really attacking minded. But I think Kulu's really physical, and that's what allows them to be to not just totally sell us out defensively. But yeah, I don't think it's that different than what Pep's doing. So, and Ange just copies Pep. So
fair, yeah. Well, and a good friend of mine, Todd Cachot, mentioned this to me. and I agree 100%. But the way that Kulu shifts his weight and reads the game and slows things down and speeds things up, he's really good at that. And obviously it's an underrated quality, or not so much underrated, but a quality that kind of goes under the radar when you're watching the match. But he's phenomenal. So I've been very impressed with him. And kind of like you said too, Max, I think some of why we have Kulusevski under the microscope often is he's playing in a manner in which we necessarily didn't think he would be playing in, 18 months ago for the club. So I've been very impressed with him. We got to talk about Maddison too, guys. If we're talking about the midfield, many people's man of the match. He was my man of the match in this one. Matters is back to form, and it feels good, right?
Oh, yeah. He was
brilliant
immaculate yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's his best performance for Spurs. That could be recency bias, but I don't know. The way he pressed, brilliant. That's how he created the first goal. Just his passing, his dribbling were perfect. And then absolutely beautiful finish with the left-footed chip there. And he just ran the game. He pulled all the strings. And I think the one thing that really put together the performance as a whole for me is that he did it in both halves. And we've seen so many games where it's first half Maddison, he's on the ball all the time. We're playing through him. He's playing great. And then we see him come out second half and he's nowhere to be found. And this game, he was involved from minute 1 to minute 95, and he was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, definitely my man of the match.
Yeah, you mentioned the first goal earlier. Solanke finds the back of the net. I almost said finally, but that would have been quite unfair. It's still early days.
That's what Sky Sports was saying. They were finally, dude, he's played 2 games.
His third match. But no, Solanke finds the back of the net. A tap in, right? If we will, but doesn't matter. Put the ball in the back of the net for the first time in a Spurs shirt, and that'll get him off the mark and off the jump. So super happy for him, albeit, maybe a couple of his teammates made the goal with him being in the right space, which is important too. But I was really happy for Solanke.
Yeah, and I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I'm going to. I specifically highlighted on the preview pod that if we're going to score, we need to do it by pressing. First goal straight away, pressed, won the ball, scored. I was like, okay, yeah.
Here we go.
I kind of cooked with that take, and it worked throughout the entire game. I thought our press was so good yesterday, and that was what created a lot of chances for us, and the most chances by far we've had in a long, long time.
Yeah, well, and again, that's some of what I want to talk about with big picture stuff here in a little bit is the ways in which we look good. But let's pause for a second. The second goal, Brennan Johnson, beautiful finish. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Brennan nerd, right? That little hezzy that he put on to throw the defender, right? And then the clean finish to the far post. That's my favorite finish in football, right on the ground to the far post, right? After throwing the keeper off a little bit, keeper leans to the left. Johnson finishes it. But a wonderful play off the back of, again, another counter press. But Keagan, after everything Brennan's been dealing with, all the bullshit, right? You can see his confidence building and what this means to him. So. Oh
yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously we're all Americans, so none of us were at the game. What I've heard a lot from people who were at the game is that the stadium was behind him, and that the group of fans, the group of Twitter morons that are causing him to disable his Instagram account are definitely the minority, and that the fans that are the ones that are going to the games every week are the ones that are supporting him. And they were chanting his name after his goal. But yeah, and you can see his confidence growing. I think that being said, there's I think he could have had a goal and an assist, or maybe 2 goals and assist even on the day. But that finish is just so indicative of a growing confidence, because that's just it. It takes confidence to be like, no, I'm going to take this situation by the scruff of the neck and fire it far post, and not do what he's done in the past. We're trying to take a bad touch or get the ball stuck under his feet, or try to lay a ball to the back post and it's too far. So yeah, I was impressed, and I'm happy that the fans are behind him in the stadium. And I hope that he knows that he's loved by Spurs fans and that we're behind him, even if we're frustrated by some of his performances.
Yeah, well said, man. Often what we see in the stadium and what we see on Twitter are two completely separate things when it comes to the fan base, right? So I completely agree with you. It does look like people are behind him, and frankly, I don't understand how you don't support everybody that wears the shirt, right? But I think maybe there's some out there that are looking to farm engagement a little bit more than support Tottenham Hotspur, right? So that is social media and that's the world. But I'm super happy for Brendan. You talked about the confidence. We've already discussed Coventry, but again, the magnitude of that goal and everything that meant to see us through in the cup, right? That's the tough finish in a high pressure moment. So Brendan's showing us, what he's capable of, and I'm really happy for him. And then the third goal, Max Madison with that beautiful chip. He said himself he wasn't sure that it was going in when it left his foot, right? It just snuck in. But Sonny with the wonderful assist, just the nutmeg pass, right? And Matters puts it home to see Spurs through. But another goal off the press and in transition, right?
Yep, absolutely. And it's exactly like what we've been crying out for just going forward, because we've seen so many times, like Basuma wins that ball, we wait, the other team drops back, then we're passing it sideways. It was just nice to see our players just be like direct and vertical with it. And shout out Yves Basuma coming back from injury and then immediate impact. Great tackle, gets it up. Romero picks it up. He plays Sonny in. It's a beautiful pass from Romero. And it was kind of between Romero or Sarr to see who's going to pick up that ball. And I don't know if this is how Sarr has started the season or my faith in Romero as a ball-playing center back, but I was like, please have this be Romero on the ball. Like, I trust him more to make that pass through than I do Sarr, who I feel like maybe gets caught up in a bit of the system, like the flaws that we talked about in like, oh, maybe he would have dropped it back. But Romero, I know I trust him. Go vertical, and then a great pass by Sonny, and the finish to match was beautiful. And then Matters taking his shirt off. That I had him at like a 9. No spoilers for the player ratings, but then after that happened, you know, best performance in a Spurs shirt this season for any player.
Yeah, and I think no matter what team you are, even if you're Man City or Real Madrid, like scoring goals oftentimes requires like a little bit of luck, and like not every goal can be like prime Barcelona tiki-taka pass into the back of the net. Like even Sonny's pass, like to Madison, goes through the defender's legs, and like even on when Madison won it high up the pitch, like the keeper made a bit of a fumble and bounced it out to Solanke. And I think like in the past 4 or 5 weeks, we just haven't been getting those bounces, and they haven't been going our way. And like maybe like barring the Everton game, but it seemed like we finally were kind of creating our own luck in this game. So I was really happy with this game, and I was obviously really happy with Madison too.
Yeah, and I think that just goes along with like what we saw is we created so many more opportunities for us to get lucky. Like there was like we got lucky though a couple times, or like lucky, but we like deserved to score there.
Absolutely,
regardless. Yeah. But there was so many other times that we didn't score that we should have, where we maybe like had a bit more difficult of a chance, like Johnson's goal, and we had like an easier chance, like maybe that Solanke one that got saved, or Johnson in the second half that should have been scored. And it's just like when you get the volume of chances that we were creating, then we're gonna put in goals, and that's really what we've been missing over the past month.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree. We look fantastic in a lot of ways, but I do want to chat about the bigger picture, because I think for anyone who's been following the show, we have been peering into the bigger picture, you could say, weekly here at Emerald on Lilywhite. And again, disclaimer that no one on this podcast is anywhere remotely close to thinking Ange Postecoglou should not be a Tottenham Hotspur, right? But questions are being asked, and we're looking at those things right here on the pod. I do think in some sense that Brentford allowed us to be so dominant in this match. Brentford had 52% of the ball, from my understanding, right? that may need to be fact checked, but I believe it was 52-48 in Brentford in owning possession. And I think that was a huge mistake by Brentford coming in and trying to hold the ball against Spurs. If I'm a manager and I'm coming to play this Tottenham team, I'm saying the only thing we can't do is get beat in quick transitions, because case in point, Spurs can beat you, right, if they're direct. But if we let them have the ball and we give them no opportunities to capitalize on transitions, they're not going to do shit with it, and they're going to have two guys back, and we're going to find a goal somewhere on the break, right? I don't think Brentford came in with that approach. They like to have too much of the ball, and they allowed us to smoke them in transitions, which goes into the conversation Max and I had on the last episode of Emerald and Lilywhite, is that we see these profiles in the 11, and I'm talking about Bentaker, Basuma, Kulusevski, Madison, these guys who are really good at picking the locks quickly and directly in transition, and Sonny and Brennan, who are really good when they can get into those inside channels, right, and break inside towards the goal rather than floating on the lines. That only happens for us in transition. And so I just have this hankering that if we would have been given as much of the ball as teams tend to give us, we may not have found ourselves with such a high margin of victory in this one. But I'm just curious if you guys think there's anything to that.
Yeah, I think that you could be right potentially, but I also think like there was a clear difference in mentality in the way that Spurs played that game. I think that if we wanted to, we could have had 65% possession, and I think Brentford would have let us have that. I just saw like a bit more directness from Spurs that I think was like intentional from us too. And when you're more direct, you have less possession, and like when you take more risks, you have less possession. And I think there was just more forward passing and more risk-centered passing. And I think because of that, like maybe you're right in the sense that Brentford did try to have too much of the ball, but I still think that if we wanted to, we could have just dominated possession like we have in the past. But I think that as much as there was maybe a flawed mentality from Brentford of trying to have too much of the ball, I think that we also had a different mentality in terms of not just having possession for the sake of having possession, but having possession to put the ball in the back of the net too.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
No, I was going to say that's a level-headed take for sure. I think the essentially what I'm hearing you say is Postecoglou probably recognized that there was opportunities for us to be a little bit more direct and decided to coach his team on being a little bit more direct, and we were more direct because of that, right? Which is probably the case, honestly, now that I hear you say that. But I overall, and Max, you want to get in on this?
Yeah, I just want to mention, like, as we continue this discussion, that we went down 1-0 in the first minute. And I think that really helped us, to be honest, because I think if we didn't, then maybe we would have seen a similar game script to what we have in the past, but we kind of had no choice but to just attack, because we started off the game losing.
Good shout. And I think you said on the last show that we're at our best when we're down a goal, right? I think to many fans, when we conceded 30 seconds in, it was probably just another, oh, fuck, here we go again, right? Moment. But I got to give the boys credit for turning it around. Now, there's going to be things that have to improve. And like you just said, Max, maybe it doesn't look the same if we don't concede right away. But I have every reason to think we'll get there. So ultimately, three big points when we really needed. I think we both said, Max, on the last episode that if we didn't take 3 points from this game, it wasn't going to be good, right? And again, not saying that someone would have lost their job or anything like that, but it just would have started to look really problematic had we not taken 3 points from this game at home. And we did. So credit to the squad. We have seen ourselves through in the cup, and as we say, that's a scoreline and nothing more, right? When it comes to knockout football, we won that match, and then we come off a really good performance in the Premier League and see Brentford 3-1. So, let's talk about player ratings.
Can I jump in one thing before we do player ratings? I just want to give a hand tip my cap to Ange, because like I said, the game script kind of warranted us playing more vertically and more direct, which is what me and Scott really wanted to see from us as like a change of pace from what we saw in Coventry. But we had tactical differences, and that's a huge point of emphasis for me, because that's something that I didn't think we would see this soon after experiencing maybe like some difficulty against Arsenal and Coventry. But I just want to highlight those Porro and Udogie were significantly less inverted in this game, and we saw a lot more of Madison dropping deeper or Kulu dropping deeper with Vents rather than those outside backs checking in. And how did we create? I think it was Brennan's goal, or maybe a good chance that Brennan had, was Madison checking deep, drawing in the defenders. And then he's so good at breaking the lines. And so is Kulu when he's with pressure on his back. He's so good at turning and finding that open space. So that was a tactical tweak. And then again with Madison, and I think that like he really used Madison as the key. And we saw it in the performance. Madison was getting a lot more wide, and we had Son inverting. So Madison was kind of on that left-sided center mid position. And Son, like me and Scott have talked about, he was a lot more inverted throughout the game. And we saw Madison getting those 1v1s with the fullback, which I would much rather have. And he was doing his thing, turning down the line. We've seen him do that many times against Luton last year. I think the Arsenal goal that we scored last year with Madison cooking on the line. So he got a lot more out wide there, which was another tactical adjustment. And what was the result of it? It was Madison and Sonny both playing their best games of the season. Actually, well, Son was really good against Everton, but Son playing one of his better games, he created 7 chances from being more in that false 9 type of role. It wasn't even a winger. He was like dropping deeper and creating 7 chances for Sonny there and 2 assists. So those are some tactical tweaks from Ange I was really impressed by.
Good job, man. Yeah, I completely agree. It's like the guy knows football and is paying attention to the things that we're seeing too, right? So
it's like the guy just puts up our podcast in the locker room.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Maybe he does, man. Listen to these fuckers. We'll take a cut of your wages and just send it to Steve. Steve will break it down for us.
Yes.
No, but good job, man. I think we got to give Ange his flowers. He's proving to be more flexible with each week. I think the first time we really saw him flex was against City in the second to last match last year, and we're in good hands with Ange Postecoglou. So good job. Let's talk player ratings quick, and maybe good for all of us to just kind of go through the lineup and rattle off the ratings we have for each player to keep it moving. But Max, you want to start?
Yeah, I got Vicario with a 5. We did not discuss him at all during this game. He was definitely the low point. I don't know what he's doing with the distribution, like taking too long on the ball. He's just not comfortable with his feet. It's pretty evident. And then secondly, just clearly handled the ball outside the box. I'm not going to say that it would have changed the game, because it probably just would have been a yellow in a free kick, which doesn't really matter. He obviously made a great save as well, but like he just has to be smarter, dude. This is just multiple games that we've seen this year where he hasn't been at his best. Do you guys have any Vicario thoughts? We can, because I think he was like a part of the storyline, and we've kind of talked about everyone else a bit. So
we can pause Vicario. Okay.
Yeah, I in our preseason podcast, I have Vicario as my most disappointing player of the season. That was my prediction, and I thought that because of a couple things in preseason where he just seemed to continue to be like making some mistakes with the ball at his feet, continue to lack physicality in the box, but his shot stopping is clearly his strength, and I don't think we can take that away from him. He made 2 really important saves in this Brentford game, and he has made important saves all throughout the season. But yeah, I think his lack of physicality and his lack of confidence with the ball in his feet is pretty worrying for me at the moment. It kind of feels like a similar thing to what happened with Arsenal and Aaron Ramsdale, where they ended up replacing him with David Raya. But I just don't think Spurs are Arsenal, and Spurs won't sign a higher quality goalkeeper to replace one that's doing it all right. And whereas Arsenal have more ambition, it seems like they're going to replace a goalkeeper that's doing just all right for a goalkeeper that's world class. And I don't think Spurs are going to do that with Vic. So I hope. Well, what I hope is that shot stopping is a God-given talent, and he's clearly a really talented shot stopper. And I think that you can teach physicality, and you can continue to really, really work on and grind on his on his confidence with the ball at his feet. So I hope that he continues to work on those things. But yeah, at the moment he's definitely a bit worrying. I also had him at a 5. Sorry, I know that was a bit of a long take on Vic, but I had some thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's all good. All good. I think it's worth talking about him as well. I had him at a 5.5. A couple big saves probably give me a little bit of a bias to bump him up to that 5.5, but I agree with everything you're saying, Keegan. I think you're spot on, and I don't have much to add to it. Max, what do you got across the back line?
Yeah, so I had Van de Ven at a 6. That might feel low, but he just didn't. I don't know. He got caught in a possession once that was a bit dangerous. Didn't seem super sharp, but that's like kind of just the standard I've held him to. Obviously, still coming back from injury a little bit. Romero at an 8, obviously brilliant play for the third goal, and he was just class. And then both fullbacks at a 7. We haven't really seen the fullbacks really change a game yet, I feel like. So I just kind of throw 7s on them because they weren't super involved like we had seen them last year. But I'm still waiting for each of them. They will have a game where they're quite involved in creating a lot of chances. But that wasn't yesterday. They didn't have to. So 7s for them, solid.
Keegan?
Yeah, I have 7s for both center backs. I was obviously particularly impressed with Romero and his ball playing ability. I think Van de Ven's a unique center back. I've always graded a center back on you almost have a good game when you don't notice them. But we have really unique center backs where they have really kind of in your face talents like Van de Ven's pace. But it really was kind of a performance from Van de Ven yesterday where I just didn't notice him that much. I thought he was fine in possession. I thought he was fine. I thought he swept up everything on his side pretty well. But 7s for both the center backs. And then
the Van de Ven on the goal. That was the other thing that factored into my rating. I thought he could have done better on their goal, but It was the first minute. So,
and then I have a 6.5 for Porro. I thought Porro was fine again. Yeah, I think he's particularly impressive when he's on the ball, when we're getting pressed. He's so good at finding the pass that picks the lock on a press. And I had Udogie at an 8 actually. I thought he was excellent yesterday. I thought that he worked really well with Madison. I think he's kind of been struggling working with Sonny, but as Max was saying earlier, I thought Madison was kind of taking up some positions wide left, and I think that Udogie and him had some really impressive interplays. So, and he was obviously just really solid defensively. So I have Udogie at an 8 actually.
Word, yeah. I have Porro at a 6.5. I've got Van de Ven at a 7, and I've got Romero and Udogie at 7.5s. And I don't have much to add. I think you guys both encompass why I feel that way. Yeah, so pretty standard from all those guys, I think, as far as ratings would go. Midfield, Max, what do you got? And I think this is where it heats up a little bit.
Yeah, so I have Bentancur at an 8. I wanted to give him a 9, but I felt like I could only have kind of 1 9 maybe for this game because that is quite high, but he was fantastic. Just been really good for the past 3 games. I think obviously the reason that we got the win at Coventry, and I thought he was our best player in NLD. So, great to see him finding form. I don't know about this match ban too much. Maybe you guys can share some insight on that after we finish up the ratings. But yeah, great to see him finding form. I threw Basuma in here as well at an 8 because obviously sparked the third goal. And he was really good off the bench. And then James Maddison at a 10. Absolutely brilliant. Kulusevski, I had at a 7. He was just really good. And then Sarr off the bench, I had at a 6 because – he's just been whatever this year, but not bad by any means.
Keegan?
Yeah, I had Bentancur at an 8 as well. Not much to add there. I thought he was excellent. And then Basuma, when he came on, was just as good. And I think a lot of guys were saying a lot of Spurs fans were saying early in the year that the 6 was going to be a position of worry for us. And right now we have two sixes playing in really peak form.
Plus Archie.
Yeah, and Archie as well. But like Basuma and Bentancur are just excellent in this game, and so I'm excited to see how Ange decides to rotate them, because I think like resting them and letting them kind of remain in peak form and peak fitness will be really helpful for us. And then I had Kulu at a 7. I didn't rate Sarr because I didn't see much of him, but yeah, probably about a 6. And then Madison was obviously just top class. I had him at a 9.5. I think to have a 10, you need a hat trick in my book. But I thought Madison was just so good. He seemed to play like every position in the midfield at one point in the game. He was like picking up the ball deep, like a deep line 6, and then driving past players like an 8, and then obviously picking the lock like a 10. So, yeah, he was just top class today. It was unbelievable.
Word. Yeah, I got Bentancur at an 8. I got Kulusevski at a 7, and I got Madison at a 9.5. I, like you, think you have to do something pretty nuts to get a 10. And that's probably my FIFA Pro Clubs bias. Like, I never get fucking 10s, even when I just have nuts games. So, not giving one to Madison, but I'll give him a 9.5. Super stoked for him. I also did not rate Basuma or Sarr, but I would give them comfortably both an 8 and a 6. Basuma the 8, Sarr the 6, based on everything you guys have said. So nothing to add. And then up top, I think there could be some variance here. But Max, what do you got?
Yeah, so I got Sonny at a 9, 2 assists. Maybe could have taken some more chances, but like I said, 7 chances created in one game from one player is insane. The other 2 both grabbed goals. I got them both at 8s. They didn't really do much else besides the goals, but they were both solid. So I got Solanke and Johnson at 8, Sonny at 9.
Keegan?
I got 8s all around, which is really refreshing, because I feel like in the first couple games of the season, it seemed like our defense and our midfield was getting significantly higher ratings than our attack, and it seems like more balanced today. But I want to shout out Solanke, actually. I know that Max shouted out Sonny, but I thought Solanke's general play was just so encouraging, and especially like after a season of watching a ton of Richarlison dribbling the ball around the pitch and flopping all over the place and falling over his feet. Seeing Solanke who can just take a quality first touch and like spread the ball out wide, and or even like body feint and dribble past a player. Like he's like dribbling past guys and putting balls into the box. He's just so refreshing, and obviously to get his goal was good. I thought he could have had another one. But I look forward to seeing him continue, and I really hope he starts against Qarabag on Thursday.
Yeah, I love it. I got Sonny at a 9. I got Solanke at an 8.5, and I got Johnson at an 8.5. Could have given Johnson an 8, but I'm biased, so I threw the extra half a point on there, right? But I think Brennan, there was a couple of chances he could have taken, but I think that the way that he took his finish was super impressive. It was just a fantastic goal, and I give Solanke the 8.5. I give him an 8, but his the work that he puts in off the ball, I give him a half a point for that. He busts his ass constantly. The guy covers so much ground. He leads the press, and not only does he physically lead the press, he's so demanding of his teammates when it comes to the press, right? He's barking, he's asking for collaboration. He's slotted in seamlessly, and there's no sense of like, I need to bet into this team before I start, leading the press more visibly than just doing it myself, right? Or more outwardly, we would say. So I was super happy for him. I think he was a perfect fit. I'm so happy the club invested in Solanke. Yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about, and any subs you want to bring up before we move on?
No, just shout out Mikey Moore, first prime minutes of the season. We'll see him on Thursday. I'm pretty sure of it. And then, just love to see those 3 coming on together more, Bergvall and Gray. It's the future of Tottenham.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to Qarabag then. European journey starts this week, and I think it's exciting for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, it's European football, right? But this year there's no Champions League drop down, and as we've talked about, there's every reason to think that we can go and actually win this competition, right? I really do believe that we can. So it's going to be super important that we get off to a good start against a team that not only has knocked us out of European competition over the last 5 seasons, they're perennial champions of the Azerbaijan Premier League, which I am not going to pretend to follow, right, or anything like that. But I think my point is, anytime you winning is in your DNA and your culture like that, right, it does impact your confidence. And they almost knocked Leverkusen out of the Europa League last season, I believe, in the quarterfinals. They're a good team, so one that we can't take lightly. Max, I'll start with you. What do you expect from this match? How do you expect Spurs to approach this?
So I think I want to see more of the same, right? We're at home. We should go for it, get up early. We just want to put this game to bed early, get our players that were starting. We got Man United at the weekend. Get our players that need to be rested for that game, get them off the pitch as early as we can. Grab goals, get some youngsters some experience, and I think that should be the goal for the game on Wednesday or Thursday. And I'm just excited to see us play in Europe again. Should be a lively atmosphere, so that's exciting.
Yeah, Keegan, what sort of changes do you expect, if any, from yesterday's lineup?
Yeah, I think it'll be kind of in between the lineup from Brentford to Coventry. Coventry seemed to have a ton of rotation, and Brentford was obviously our strongest 11. So I think that we'll see more of our stars. I think Sonny and Madison will play, and they didn't start against Coventry. But I also think that potentially Dragusin will start for Romero. I don't know if we'll see Vicario. Obviously, whether or not Solanke plays is going to be interesting. But I think it'll be kind of a mixed team, not a full rotation, but maybe a quarter rotation.
Max, he mentioned Vicario. What do you think? Does Vicario start?
Yeah, I got Vicario in my lineup. I can just kind of go through my lineup now. So I got Vicario. Obviously, Romero's out, so Dragusin should fill in, and then Van de Ven, I assume, on the left. And then I got Porro and Gray as the fullbacks. Udogi's just been playing a lot. He played half the game against Coventry, but Porro didn't play at all in that game. So I think it's important to get him some rest and get Archie Gray minutes as well, as he didn't play that much at the weekend. So that's my back line. And then in the middle, I think you have to go Basuma. Bentz has played 3 games in a row, and he can start against United. And then I got the Swedish duo there, just making sure Madison is healthy and rested, because he does have injury problems. I got Bergvall and Kulu in front of Basuma, and then up top I got Mikey Moore, because who else do we have? And then I've got Sonny at the 9, just because Solanke has been playing a lot. He played a lot against Coventry, and Sonny didn't. And then I got Brendan Johnson again on the wing. We don't really have any other options, and I really don't want to see Timo Werner. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Solanke play the first 45, and then maybe Will Lancashire, who I think will be on the bench, get some minutes for us.
Yeah, I got no qualms with that. I do agree with you that Mikey Moore gets a nod. I really hope that he does. I also think that as we venture into these situations where we know we're going to have to break down a block, I don't think we have a wing profile that can do that outside of Mikey Moore and Odebear, obviously, who's not available. So really like to see Mikey Moore get the nod. I think maybe we see Sonny start on the right side with Solanke in the middle for 45 minutes. Like you, I think it's a planned 45 minutes. Whether or not that's Lancashire or Son slides over to the right to the 9 and Johnson comes on, I'm not quite sure. Right, I think there's probably a lot up in the air with Will Lancashire because he did just come back from injury. But I expect him to be on the bench for sure. The midfield pairing of Bergvall and Kulu is a good shout. It feels a little bold, but I wouldn't be that surprised by it. I think there's a lot to be said for Madison getting a rest. As you said, he's injury prone, and we need him. We need him against United without a doubt. So getting Bergvall and Kulusevski in the center of the park, again, not a bad shout. Also considering, that they're teammates on the national team. I'm trying to think of a fancy word for 2 people from the same country, but they both come from Sweden, right?
Countrymen, fellow countrymen.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, just the comfortability there, I think, would be nice for Bergvall to have in a start. So yeah, I think it's a good shout. And then I think at fullback, wouldn't be surprised if Porro starts. Also, wouldn't be surprised if Archie Gray gets a nod at right back. I think that leaves Ben Davies at the left fullback position, unless you want to give Udogie another go, which I don't think is the wisest move. So, but there's some flexibility. I don't know if I'm making a prediction here, just pointing out that it's nice to have a few different options when the games are coming so thick and fast. But yeah, we'll see. Anything else you guys want to talk about, lineups or anything like that?
I think that my only thing that I want to add is a potential front line that I thought of. Obviously, I really don't want to see Timo Werner, although I think it's likely that we do because he was so unbelievably hard to watch against Coventry.
Yeah, it was bad against Coventry.
But I think that I actually am pretty confident that Solanke will start. I just don't think that we have a ton of options. And I do think that he'll play 45 minutes, but I think that we'll start – I hope that he starts Son out left and then Solanke to the middle. And I think that he'll start Mikey Moore on the right, actually. I think he'll give Brennan a rest. Brennan's had a really just big week as a player for us, scoring 2 goals. And I think that, like, sitting him and taking some of the pressure off him on Thursday would be important. And I think that he played Mikey Moore quite a bit on the right during preseason, and I think that's a position that he can totally take up. So that's what I would hope is Moore on the right, Solanke through the middle, and Son on the left.
Word. Yeah. As long as Moore's on the pitch, I'm happy. It's time for Mikey Moore.
He's got to be. Like, he has to start. Like, I'm going to be really mad if I see Timo starting over him. Yeah. Like, there's no reason at this point.
I also don't think it'd be like a super physically demanding game for our attackers. Like, I don't think that Qarabag will have a ton of the ball, so I don't think we'll be pressing a ton. So I think that like 45 minutes of filling around in our box for Solanke and going up for headers is not going to be super demanding for him.
Yeah. And like guys, they're from Azerbaijan. Like,
that's famous really last words, Max. Do not say this, Max.
Exactly.
Famous last words.
Exactly. Are they really worse? Are they really better than Coventry? Like, genuinely. Like, I don't know if they are. Like,
probably pretty similar, I'd say.
It's pretty. Yeah, I would say it's very similar. I don't know, man. We'll see. Like I said, I watched both legs last year against Leverkusen. I believe it was the quarterfinals, and they gave maybe even the semis. But they got to the semis of the Europa League, or the quarters at least, right, and gave Leverkusen a real scare. Leverkusen had to score like 90 plus 6 to get through against these guys. So they're a solid team. And like I said, when your culture is just absolute first place or nothing less, right, that does make an impact on the way that you play in big matches. So we'll see. Spurs should go out and thump them, but
I also think it's important to note that, like, because they play in the Azerbaijan league, like, this is their biggest game of the season so far. Whereas, like, for us, it's an opportunity to rotate and see some young players. Like, just like the potential difference in mentality of, like, Qarabag's coming in, like, we don't, like, they're not even thinking about their league play at this point. Like, this is what their season revolves around is the Europa League. And that's, like, our season, obviously the Europa League is really important, but, like, our main competition is the Prem, at least at this point in the season. So, like, I hope that difference in mentality doesn't come out. And I think because we're at home, I don't think that it will. But I think if we were away, it would be a little bit sketchy. But
I just want to add that, like, they had the Champions League potential qualification. They played Dynamo Zagreb and over 2 legs lost 7-0. Dynamo Zagreb just lost 9-2 to Bayern. I'm not saying I'm not trying to jinx us, but like if Zagreb's getting beat by 7 goals and then they beat this team by 7 goals, granted it was over 2 legs, but one of those legs was 5-2 or 5-0. I think we should put them away pretty comfortably.
Hope you're right.
And I'm predicting 4-0.
4-0. All right. Let's jump into
Mikey Moore goal, Kulusevski brace. And then let me get I'll just give Sonny one, and then I'm gonna run back my Coventry prediction. Bergvall 2 assists. Come on.
Let's go. Keagan, what do you got, man?
I think we got him 3-0. And I'm gonna give Basuma a goal. I think that he was on great form in his international duties and scored 2 goals. So I think they'll bring that back. And I'm going to give Bergvall his first Spurs goal and Solanke a goal.
That would be awesome.
Word. I'm going 3-1. I'm going Sonny with a goal. Actually, I'm going Sonny with 2 goals, and I'm going also Bergvall with his first goal in a Spurs match. And then I just say we'll concede some stupid fucking goal, maybe a set piece.
Dude, okay. If we see Forrester, like, we're just throwing. Like, we're actually
so bad against Coventry too. Oh my god,
he was so bad. It was like this guy should just retire. Like
Timo Werner and Fraser Forster. That might have been 2 of the worst performances I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt in my entire life of watching Tottenham play. Like, it was just embarrassing. Like, I genuinely think, like, the Coventry players in those positions could have swapped for those 2 players and would have been miles better.
Yeah, last week my ratings, I had Timo at a 3, which was kind of generous, honestly. But that was by far the worst rating that I've notched this season for anyone. And then I have Forster at a 4 because Loki did have a couple clutch saves, but like everything else was just terrible.
Yeah, we can let's move on. There's just the scoreline that matters. We're on to the next round.
Round.
When does the draw happen for that?
I think Thursday. I think it's probably while we're playing.
Okay.
Yeah,
because it's just whenever the other teams finish up, I think.
Sweet. All right.
All right. Well, yeah, you guys heard it all here first. Spurs are winning. It's a clean sweep. We fucking better. But yeah, before we wrap, got a couple of segments that we always want to bring to you. First and foremost, brought to you by the Wits End Up Infinity Ridge, the Loan Watch. Max, I'm going to kick it over to you. What's going on, if anything, since the last time we spoke, right?
Yeah, so in terms of loans, Alfie Devine won a penalty in his game against Antwerp where Toby Alderweireld actually scored a brace, and they ended up losing. But Devine did win a penalty for their for Waterloo, and then Yang scored a 95th minute equalizer for Gangwon, and then I think they promptly proceeded to lose the game, like the next kick of the game. So those efforts in vain, but those are 2 starlets that I think everyone at the club anticipates will be a big part of the club. Yang maybe even this year, and I think Devine probably next year. So good to see those 2 performing well on loan.
Yep. Yeah, completely agree. I'm super happy for both of them. And I think, as you mentioned, as the wing situation continues to progress, Yang could be important sooner rather than later. So super happy for him to get off the mark for the first time in a while, we could say. And yeah, looks like he's a good little player. Again, his first season of professional football, and it's in the K League. So, you know, there's always room for a wobble or error, but I expect him to be a good little player. And then last but not least, brought to you by Cascades down in Puyallup, the Academy Watch, probably our favorite segment here at Emerald and Lilywhite. What's going on, Keagan? You got something?
I wish I did. I don't have much. I just moved into my house this week and have been really occupied, and sadly, my watching the Academy has what's been to be totally honest. But
no, you're good, man. I'm right there with you. Max, bring us home. Save the day.
Yeah, so the 18s played Valencia in the Europa League 18-year-old edition. We squandered a 3-1 lead at halftime and ended up drawing 3-3. We'll take a Luca Williams-Barnett goal. I think he is the main guy on the 18s that we should be monitoring. And I wouldn't be surprised if he features in the 21 soon. He's scored, I think, like every game this year. So, yeah, Luca Williams-Barnett is an absolute baller. Other than that, I think we covered the Academy on the last episode was when the 21s were playing. So,
word. Yeah, well, the future of Spurs is bright. As we always say here at Emerald and Lilywhite, I did not mean to rhyme, but it happened. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Good episode, obviously. Lovely coming off the W to be able to talk Spurs, and we'll hope for another big win against Qarabag this week. And then looking ahead, next weekend, Spurs play Manchester United. I believe that's at Old Trafford, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
It's a big one. They're going to be competitors of ours for our ambitions in the league and, of course, all the domestic competitions, right? A big one, which, again, we'll cover this match in full detail after Qarabag, so we won't get into it now. But all you Spurs fans out there, look ahead to a big one next week, one match at a time. But, yeah, they're coming thick and fast. I think we got a game. I think we got 2 games a week for the next couple months, if I'm honest. So it's going to be a lot
besides the international breaks, it's pretty consistent, and especially if we continue to progress in the Carabao.
What do we have the week after United?
We have, I think, we have Ferencvaros on Thursday after United away.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're going to Romania. Hungary. Thank you. Yeah.
We're going to Hungary, and then we come back and we got Brighton at the Amex. So it's not easy.
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
All away after this Thursday's game.
Sweet.
All right, Spurs fans, buckle in. For myself, for Max, for Keagan, for everybody at Seattle Spurs, we appreciate everybody who's tuned in. Make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. As we always say, it really helps not only Seattle Spurs grow, but it helps Tottenham grow in the great city of Seattle and the great state of Washington. We'd appreciate everybody who would give us a like and a subscribe. Follow Keagan at Keagan McMurray. Follow Max at Going Limbs. You can find me at Scott G. Bird. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.